Now we're going to a segment called What We Learned. What We Learned is presented by Binghamton University. Binghamton University was named the top school in the SUNY system according to recent rankings from the Wall Street Journal and Forbes. Visit binghamton.edu for more. Let's start here. Knicks without OG Anunoby. We'll get into the injury later on, but just the way that they had performed without him. I mean, you look at the last two games, particularly last night, I thought Precious Achiuwa was fantastic against Atlanta. Obviously, you don't want to spend any time without arguably your best two-way player, but I think they weathered the storm pretty well. I mean, the Boston loss was ugly, but outside of that, I think they had weathered it pretty well. Shaun, what about you? What did you learn? What have you learned during this stretch without OG?
So I learned that, this next man up as always, and guys are going to come together and do what needs to be done. Precious definitely had a great game against Atlanta. What I learned that was negative, unfortunately, is that Tom Thibodeau is not going to be imaginative at all if he's put in a position to have to do so. I feel like Deuce McBride should have started in place of OG, especially against the teams we've seen. I mean, we saw the Celtics no Porzingis. We saw the Pacers no Miles Turner. And I think the Celtics, when you play a good team like that, they're going to exploit whatever exploits you present to them. And so, having Josh and Precious out there, it shrunk the floor for us, and they made us play into that. And I thought that we'd probably combat that after seeing what happened and finally make that adjustment going into the Pacers game, and then we didn't. And so it's no indictment on Precious or anything. I just think that it's a better fit in that lineup for Deuce to provide that spacing. So I've learned that we won't see that. Although I kind of knew that wouldn't be the case, I know for a fact now that he won't make that kind of adjustment. So hopefully everybody just stays healthy.
Yeah, the interesting thing there, we're talking about, Mitchell Robinson coming back at some point, OG Anunoby coming back. I mean, what does that mean for the rotation? I think it's fair to assume that Landry Shamet would be the odd man out, but then you talk about a shrunken floor, Precious Achiuwa, Mitchell Robinson. That would certainly shrink the floor. So, Ariel, put on your Tom Thibodeau sweatsuit, make your voice a little deeper and grovelly, and there you go. What would you do? Mitchell Robinson's back. Everybody's healthy. What would your rotation look like?
Okay, well, can I ask a follow-up? Far be it for me to turn the tables on you here, Ian, but I have two questions that I hope you can educate me on. When the heck is Mitchell Robinson coming back?
Yes.
When the heck? Yeah. So we could play this game, but is he coming back, or is the move to could we just save him for late March at this point? Because Lord knows if he comes back now, there's a very good chance that something might happen. And so, do we really need him now? We've made it this far without him. Should we just save him for the playoff run? I'm not sold on him coming back anytime soon. And the other thing is, I adore the Knicks with all my heart, but let's be honest, we were in this exact position last year with OG and Randall. The secrecy around some of these injuries and the timetable, it sounds like we dodged a bullet with OG, but we also thought we dodged a bullet with the elbow last year, and then we find out he has surgery, and then he doesn't come back, until 2 months or something like that. And then we all know what happened with Julius Randle. And so I'm almost operating now in a space where we're not getting either of those guys back anytime soon. Am I wrong?
I mean, it's understandable. And with that, why don't we transition to our injury update section, and we can get into all of that. Ariel, nice segue. Appreciate it. The injuries we'll go through here are OG, Mitchell Robinson, Miles McBride, Josh Hart. So with OG Anunoby, I truly do think that they dodged a bullet. I mean, everything that kind of you hear is that there was a sigh of relief when that MRI came back, and it was just a sprained foot, and it wasn't anything like a Lisfranc, or it wasn't obviously nothing to do with the Achilles. So I do think that that sigh of relief was legitimate, and Tom Thibodeau has talked about the idea that this is kind of precautionary with OG Anunoby, that they're being careful, that it's not necessarily some big structural issue that they have to be worried about, that they just want to give it the time to heal. He was saying yesterday that it's just about how he wakes up the next day after he works out. So there's a process, and the idea that they listed him as questionable, I don't think that was total gamesmanship. I think there was maybe a hope that he could get a game in before the break just to see how it would react. Obviously, you didn't get there, but I don't think that this is the kind of thing where he's going to be out, until early April. I do think that he'll be back on the floor. Mitchell Robinson, similar. I mean, it's concerning and strange that he hasn't been cleared for 5-on-5 yet. But if we get to, let's say we get to that Bulls game, their first game back, and Tom Thibodeau says Robinson still hasn't been cleared for that 5-on-5, then I think you get a little concerned. But all along here, they've been very cautious with him. He talked about it with beat reporters in Indiana, just the idea that the rehab's been fine. There's been no setback. It's just been a slow, steady process where he wants to make sure his body is right and he can come back at 100% health and avoid some of the ailments that he's had in the past. And so to me, that makes sense. I think similarly, you're going to see him early March, mid-March, get his legs back and then, be ready for mid-April. I think that would be the way they play it. And we'll see how it goes. But then just quickly, Josh Hart, he's dealing with something. He doesn't really want to talk about it. He denied that he would need any kind of surgery. And Miles McBride, I'm assuming that he's relatively fine and back after the All-Star break. He had that rib contusion flare up, but I don't think it's a major thing. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of injured parts there for the Knicks that they have to figure out.